Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tech Files Dose of Common Sense. If common sense is supposed to be so common, how come it seems like no damn buddy has it? And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, anybody out there in Tech Files land. Welcome to the show. We haven't got much on the list, but I figure I'd go ahead and put it out there. See what we can shake the weeds on, especially in light of latest developments. And you'll forgive me because normally I put a description of the rundown underneath the title of the show, and this is going to make you say, what happened? Bixby, that's what happened. So the Bixby is live on the Galaxy S8 and the Galaxy S8 Plus. It actually became live on my phone, I would say probably about 2 hours ago. And basically how it is now in full release, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So any one of you that happen to have a Galaxy S8 or a Galaxy S8 Plus, good old Bixby's in charge. Welcome to that world. So I've tested it for the last 2 hours. That's why I was a little bit late getting on. And in my personal opinion, it's looking pretty good. Unbelievably. Excuse me. However, the jury is still out. They are looking at I'm going to look at everything here before I render a final judgment, but so far so good. The talkback on that was a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. It certainly beat Siri, and it certainly beats Alexa. So let's just see what happens on this one. I definitely hold hopes for this. So next up on the docket, we got a couple of good ones here. Good stories, not so good in the, hey, let's find out what's going on. So OnePlus 5 has OnePlus as the company, OnePlus 5 being the specific phone, has had problems come and problems go, and it almost seems like they've increased in the level of run-amuckery / and I'm sorry, OnePlus, at this point I can't call this anything else, stupidity. So any owner of the OnePlus 5 right now, I hope everything is running all right with you, and you do not have to dial 911 or 999 if you are overseas, because if you do, there is a possibly very good chance that your phone will reboot. Wait, what did I just say? Yeah, reboot, as in turn off and turn back on again. Now, the last time I checked on this one, and I'm pretty good on this the last time I remember things, so 911 uses the GPS information off of the phone, just in case something should happen like this, to figure out what your location is from wherever you call. So come to find out, instead of being able to broadcast that location, the phone shuts itself down. That's not good. That could be very bad, because while you're dialing 911 with one channel, the phone is doing this, and it's broadcasting its data to emergency services. It's letting the people know where you're at, so they can get fire, ambulance, your mother, father, Let's just hope that one doesn't happen. But from all indications here, and this has happened with several different phones, it actually happened with my friend's phone, the one I was telling you about. The phone will reboot, and it's a bad time for it to reboot because while it's doing that, it is supposed to be sending GPS and GLONASS information to emergency services. And since it's rebooting, it does not know, or it loses it in RAM, that it has contacted an emergency number and it needs to send its location. So until they get to the bottom of this, and OnePlus is on this, by the way, I'm just fed up with all the hyperbole and all the, these were small issues up to a certain point. This with the 911 issue is big. I'm talking, and I don't mean to blow any whistles. I don't mean to turn this into clickbait because, God, I hate clickbait. But this is potentially a life-threatening issue. If you're calling emergency services and your phone cuts off, either in the middle of that call or after that call is complete, you have that risk of becoming in bad trouble. And that's not good for anybody. So if your phone does have that issue, which I don't know exactly how to test it, God, call support or email support at OnePlus. There was a statement released on it earlier this evening, actually late this evening, which was another reason that it took so long to get on the air. However, OnePlus is aware of the issue. They did issue a press statement saying that they were investigating the issue and would have a solution as rapidly as they possibly could. There's only one problem with that, ladies and gentlemen. Some of us own the OnePlus 5 and we are in the United States. Support for the OnePlus 5, the last time I checked, I think there is a support center in the States, but the main support center is in Shenzhen and also in Dubai. The last time I checked, not Dubai, I'm sorry, it's in India. So don't be surprised if this ends up being a couple of days before said problem gets fixed, which is not very good, but under the circumstances, I guess that's the best we're going to get. So by all means, and I'm calling on anybody at XDA, if you figure out the issue, and us amateur phone geeks, tech nerds, and so opposite of the Genius Bar, if us blue-collar guys can get a fix on this, by all means, you might want to let OnePlus know as well. If it's an easy fix, great. Send us the fix. Let us get on with our lives. But OnePlus, I think your welcome is starting to wear itself out. I still would love to review the phone, but I'm not able to right now. I've got several other things on the docket, and I had to take what was available, and unfortunately, OnePlus, I'd love to, if somebody at OnePlus is listening to this and they want to send it to me pro bono, I'd be more than happy to send advice back when I'm done. But as of this point, the way it's looking, I'm not going to get a review in on this. I can tell you my first impressions because I did have hands-on with it for an extended period of time. I did have it for a couple of days. It's not that bad of a phone. Honestly, the stuff about the jelly effect, yes, there is a jelly effect. Is it overblown beyond all measure? Yes. Wholeheartedly. Overblown. I would still buy this product. Unfortunately, I do not have the ability at this time. My personal life's in a little bit of transition, and unfortunately, so are the finances. So that's just me being honest. Welcome to Earth. And also attached to OnePlus, the weather application. Oh, yeah. Sorry, that segue got wrecked about as bad as a train. OnePlus put their weather application on Google Play for the simple reason that the updates to the applications will occur faster. I honestly wish every OEM put as many of their applications as they could onto Google Play. That way the applications can get updated when they're ready, and when you just want to send us a frickin' update, just send it. It would make for a lot easier things to do. As of right now, folks, most OEMs bundle their applications in software updates. And even though we're supposed to get monthly security updates for those of us who have locked phones to a carrier, and carriers, unlocked carrier phones, some of them work on updates, some of them don't work. For example, if you have a Galaxy Note 4 and it used to be AT&T and it's now unlocked, and this is the dumbest thing ever. If I have an unlocked AT&T Galaxy S4, ladies and gentlemen, guess what it will not get? It will not get a software update, at least over the air. Now I can go, because, we're all smart here, those of us tech geeks, we can plug in our phones and get the OTAs on the computer, and we can use Odin, which is the mating system. For those of you that don't know, Odin is the mating software for Samsung. We can load the firmware up and everything's fine. LG uses a different program. They call it LG Bridge. Those are the tools in which to update it for those of us who have unlocked phones. HTC, I'm not going to even tell you what the software is. Number one, they've never made it open source. Number two, they've never made it actually available to the public. You could, but it's a lot easier to bypass the bootloader and just upload a custom from XDA developers. It's a lot easier doing that when it comes to HTC and certain other phones than it would be to go straight to the manufacturer, which is another concept of the United States communication system that is completely and utterly borderline stupid. But I digress. I'm not going to rant now. Maybe later. So the links to both of the OnePlus issues will be in the show description below. Next thing up is Essential Phone. The Essential Phone, very simply, will be released. And it will be released very, very shortly. They are not specific. They will not give specifics. It's fine. I understand. If people knew where they were going to be, you know what? No, I don't understand. Here's my particular issue with this. If you know that you have a phone and you know that your phone is going to be a big hit, because I'm sorry, ever since the Essential Phone has been announced and shown off, and it had the Walt Mossberg treatment, because Walt Mossberg went over that thing with a fine-tooth comb. Ever since it had that treatment, out of 10 people I meet a day, 6 of them talk about that phone. Andy Rubin, I don't know what you're doing. I know you fired your communications director because they pretty much sucked, in your opinion, and I agree with you. And as well as your vice president of marketing. So here's my take on this. Get your information out there, whatever it is. If it's still going to be delayed by a week, get your information out there. You have telephone, teleperson, whatever. And then launch the product and let it break the record that it's going to break. I mean, for God's sakes, you have one of the founders of Android. Doesn't seem all that big of an issue to me. I mean, Andy Rubin came from the old school, just like everybody else before him. Marketing is key. Communications is key. Why is this company not communicating? Especially on a popular phone. And it's popular, and no one has actually seen the solid device yet. So, hopefully all that situation will be rectified within the next 24 to 48 hours. I hope they don't decide to do a Friday dump and say, oh, by the way, the phone's going to be released sometime in, August. Because at that point, you lose everybody. I hope that don't happen. Speaking of things not happening and marketing being screwed, the LG V30 was spotted on Geekbench. Yeah. Okay. So, basically, you're taking a phone that has roughly the same features that you had last year and the year before. Great. Awesome. Glad you're there. And then you took the one feature away that a lot of audio-visual tech heads loved about it. You took away the secondary display, which helped the operator in so many ways. But you took it away. So, there's really nothing to bitch about for us because, and there's really nothing for anybody else to bitch about because I'm going to lay a bet right now. I'm going to lay $1 to a donut. Here we go. LG is going to put out their phone. It's going to have a big press event. People are going to talk about it for about 48 hours. And then the next thing you know, it's going to be silence. Because I'm still convinced LG don't have a marketing scheme. They never did. Which is what happened with... I mean, they were pretty good with it when it came to the G3. Okay. Also, they don't see devices like they used to anymore. So, G3 came out. Okay, great. Quad HD display. That's all everybody was ever talking about was Quad HD. Then the G4 come out. Okay, awesome. Leatherback, awesome. Then the G5 come out with its friends that ended up being on a milk carton, and it was supposed to be a modular phone, which was useless because you couldn't get the effing modules in the United States of America. Or if you did, they were half-baked, half-assed, and didn't work. LG, before I have a request of you, before you put out this V30, don't just go to your carrier partners and have them push it, because I know I pushed the G6 for a carrier before it came out. After it came out, LG, did no follow-up. The only company that I have ever done business with in the United States that have done follow-up on any product whatsoever, and they're still doing it 3 months after I've owned the product, is Samsung. I am sorry to say that. And no, I don't have a Samsung check sitting in my front pocket. I'm not a paid shill. The fact of the matter is, I paid for this phone with my own money. And they're still doing customer surveys 90, 120, 180 days out for some. And they were pushing that product since launch. They pushed it up to the date of release, and they're still pushing. The only problem I have right now is with Samsung Mobile US, because technically I was supposed to have won a Gear VR with the hand controllers. I was supposed to win another VR with the hand controllers, and they haven't. Either something got lost in the mail, or they sent it to the complete wrong address, even though we put the address correction in 3 weeks before they even bothered sending anything. So either Samsung's not watching out for their addresses, or something else got screwed. In which case, I guess I might be screwed out of not one, but 2 VRs. Wouldn't be the first time. But that's okay. Life goes on. I will let you know more about Bixby in the coming days. That just popped up as a reminder. And as a matter of fact, Bixby is starting to go off now. So, at least we know the work part is working. For example, I'll do this right now. Hey Bixby, what's the weather in San Antonio?
Today it's 76 with just a few clouds in the sky.
And there you go, folks. Seems to be working just fine right now. So that's what you got. Nothing's going on right now. There's been no major bugs, no issues of the phone rebooting. That's it. You know, and granted, that's just one question. I'm actually going to try to do something I haven't done yet. I did have the full equipment come in. I'm actually going to try to run a video for you guys and gals so you can see how it runs and operates. I mean, you can actually give this thing commands that you can customize commands that Google won't necessarily customize, that Alexa won't necessarily customize, that Siri will never customize. So that's there. That will be available. And I will let you more. Yeah. I will let you know more as things are going on, because I am definitely looking forward to this. So, GSM Arena just put out an article maybe a few minutes ago. They have a Asus model number 00ID. And it just cleared the Federal Communications Commission certification systems. Now, they're not sure what this could be. I tend to agree with the author of this story. I do believe this is going to be a Zenfone 4 variant for the States. And don't be surprised, folks, if you see a Zenfone 4 show up. If it has any of the specs like the last two generations did, okay, you're going to have a phone with good specs. Are you going to take the ugly waste of space of a skin off of it so they will actually enjoy the Android user experience? Or are you just going to bog it down with more customization crap that you normally do? Sorry, Asus, I don't mean to be on the warpath with you, but as far as I'm concerned, you know, you are another one that has an issue with supporting your products. Fix your support. That's all I really want to say on that. So we're going to step off of the smartphone rant wagon for a minute. And we're going to go to something that's going to be of the Are You High file. And this don't point to an individual. This don't point to an OEM. This don't point to a carrier. This points to the Federal Communications Commission. My European and international listeners, if you want to close your ears for the next 90 seconds, you can, because I'm almost certain this is going to be too long. Don't care to you all. And you shouldn't, because you don't have to put up with this mess. So, of course, everyone had the protest over net neutrality. Everybody. And the FCC keeps a record of anybody who files a complaint, anybody who puts in an email. There was a petition to sign. It was submitted to the FCC. Here's the thing. You might as well have talked into a black hole, because there was a request made for the petitioners that signed that petition that they would be known. I can kind of agree with one part of this, and I kind of can't agree with another part of this. The FCC is not giving any information out as to who signed the petition. The point I'm going to argue for the FCC is a concern of privacy. Because I'm sure they don't want people harassing people. Hey, you signed the net neutrality protection petition. Why in the bleepity bleep 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 would you do that? And they're going to come back with a very valid reason. They believe in net neutrality. I honestly believe that every internet provider needs to be filed in as a Title II utility. Governed, owned, and government regulated. It seemed to work well so far. So, like I said, the part I'm going to kind of argue on FCC is privacy. The part I argue against the FCC would be two things. numbers. Any third-party company can say we had 400,000 people sign this petition. FCC won't tell you. You could have 1 million people sign this frickin' petition. The FCC is not going to say anything about it. Reason being, we have over 250, almost 300 million people living in the United States of America. Not to mention how many people are around the world that believes in net neutrality that probably have participated in this. And not only is the FCC going to protect your identity, they're also going to pretend like this entire day never existed. My personal opinion, I think it's BS. Come out with the numbers, and they come out with the reasons why you want net neutrality to go away. A lot of people had no idea what net neutrality was before 2012, Obama, Nilay Patel from the Verge putting out the article. I cannot have this podcast labeled explicit. I would love to give you the title name. Okay, I'm going to skirt it. The internet is effed. That's it. If you even put the internet is F and put nothing else after it, you will find that article. It runs, and you will find it in Bing, you will find it in Google. You will find it. If BlackBerry had a search, you would find it. If Ask Jeeves was still active, you would find it. I mean, they must went ahead and told a phone a friend, Lifeline, they wrote it in the sky. This thing was spread out loud, long, and angry. Nilay Patel had every reason to justify why he wrote that article. You will find that article. Trust me when I say it is a must read. I know I read it. I must have read it 4 times. And then I emailed the FCC about 3. You'll have to excuse me a minute, folks. I do apologize, sir. Okay, so we are going to take a short break. We're going to get ourselves recalibrated. And coming up, we're going to talk about, and brace yourselves, kids, Google Glass is back. Google Glass is back. So, and we're also going to come up with a little bit more. We've got a little bit more information to give to you before we wrap up. So, thank you, and we will be back momentarily. And we're back. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So, I was just checking on this. Ladies and gentlemen, Google Glass has come back to life. I know there's a lot of people that wish it didn't. However, remember the Explorer editions that they were selling for $1,500 back in the day? And all of a sudden, last month, most of them got an update. And everybody was going, why? Well, here's the reason. It's coming back. And I honestly think part of it's going to come back in the exact form that it was when it left. Basically, this is going to be mainly enterprise editions. In other words, they're going to be for businesses. They're going to be for doctors that will help them during surgery. They're going to be for people in sports that need to have that, whether it be long distance vision or the ability to get readouts on wearables and construction and stuff like that. Which, honestly, that was probably the best thing that they ever could have put to use with Google Glass. Don't let these people, the ones that want to be different, the ones that want to stand out in the crowd, and you do need to stand out nowadays. But there got to a point where just because you paid $1,500 for a Google Glass doesn't make you a glass hole. But at the same time, it doesn't make you have the right to take pictures in places that you're not supposed to take pictures at. It doesn't give you right to videotape something that you can't or not supposed to videotape because of whatever reason. Google Glass is back for the moment. I will keep you up to date as to what's going on. Ostroid actually was the one to write the article that I have linked to. Nice group out of Australia, great folks, awesome writers down there. Hello, mate. One day I would like to go to Australia before I leave this world. Although, possibilities, you never know. So, Google Glass is back. Stories in the description. I had fun reading it, actually. Kind of a little bit of a nostalgic trip. Speaking of nostalgic, I have now got a winner in the you have to be kidding file of what your daily driver was. Okay. Lady's first name is Rhonda. Her residence was Indianapolis, Indiana. Her daily driver was and is, and I'm not kidding, Motorola Razr 2. It wasn't the original. Actually, it was the Crazer. I'm sorry. I can't read. It was the Crazer, if you've never seen it, was, imagine the Razr if you've ever seen that. It was very thin, but the Crazer was a little bit different. Crazer had, and I hate to use this term because it's so cliche now, it had chamfered edges, if you will. Basically, the sides looked like a great big speaker panel. And it was a good phone. Had no problem with that at all whatsoever. It was an awesome phone. And I don't know, because I ended up destroying 6 of them. Just something about flip phones, the point that when you were fed up with someone and you wanted to hang up the phone, and you can hang up the phone, great. Unfortunately, if you flip the phone to hang up the phone and you either do it A, too heavily and crack the fuselage on the phone, which was possible because some of us did it, or B, and this occurred with certain Nextel phones, and Michael Fisher would know what I was talking about because he used to sell Nextel. Basically, once you flipped the phone shut, you had an option depending on how mad you were. You can either set the phone down very gently and use it again, or if it was a Nextel phone or most any other flip phone, let's see if it'll bend the other way. Or somewhere along the lines of does Fat Boy bounce? Unfortunately, my little Fat Boy phone never bounced because I always tried to bounce it off brick walls. And usually it came back triplicated, as in one piece here, one piece there, and one piece is cracked flying over your head. I went through 6 of them. After the 6th one, I think I stopped with Motorola Razrs because it was becoming an expensive habit. Have you ever destroyed a phone? If so, why? Send me an email, show@techfilesmedia.com. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, either at TechFiles or TechFilesMedia. My job is to make common sense out of the confusing world of technology. No matter what it is, whether it's smartphones, wearables, tablets, computers, iPhone, iPad, iPod, if you still have one, smartwatches. Lately, we've gotten a couple of different requests over email. In fact, I have one right now, and at high, can't even give the name. I'm not even going to butcher this one. I had the Blue Yeti Pro. How do I make the Blue Yeti Pro? This is what they want to do. They want to make the Blue Yeti Pro operate not only from the iPad, that's very easy, but they also want to set it up as a secondary run over to the laptop that they have. Now, If you have a Mac, it's a little bit easier. However, they have a PC. Thankfully, it's not running Windows 10. But here's a way to try it, okay? And I actually tried mine to double check that it did work, and it does. So here's what you do. You get a Blue Yeti. And when you get the Blue Yeti, you're going to have to get a USB to camera conversion kit for it. Basically, it's just a lightning cord with the female USB. So you take the power cord from the Yeti, which is a mini USB. If you have just the base of the USB, you're fine. If you have what I have, which is a 4-foot track arm, which I had ordered Rode, they sent me something else. Oh, I'm not going to tell you the trials and tribulations with that, nor the trials and tribulations with trying to get a replacement Blue Yeti. Or I wanted to get a Nessie because Sunday this thing shorted out. Well, not a Nessie, I'm sorry, a Raspberry. Unfortunately, the Raspberry was not available locally. I did not have a choice. I had to be on air 6 hours after that happened. I was in the middle of trying to do a voiceover job. That particular part kind of fell through anyway. Not because of anything on our end, but on theirs. They weren't necessarily ready for that voiceover because they couldn't get their own people that were shooting the video to shoot it on schedule. So they didn't have one part, so they couldn't put the other one together. So, long story short, and I know you're tired of it, you stick the USB power slot into the Yeti. Take the USB, and if you're running it, I would run it directly to the iPad from the USB, which means you run the USB into a phantom supply. That way it has power, okay? Quote unquote power. It's supposed to be able to operate on its own. However, anytime you manage to put an iPad to it, I've always gotten the warning of, this doesn't have enough power, so I'm not working. So screw that. I went out, I got a 4 USB hub. Real easy, real simple. You plug it in, you have your phantom power, you have it come out. Great. So you stick that to the camera adapter on the other end. Everything happened to be fine at that point. So everything right now that I have is transmitting through the iPad. However, what you can try to do, and I've tested it, it does work, but you need to be alerted of a few problems or potential problems. If you're trying to EQ the mic through the PC, you're going to have issues galore, okay? If EQing the microphone through the PC, running it in the alternative, in this way, turns out to be a problem, don't do it. So, the Blue Yeti has 2 outputs. It has USB, which provides the phantom power. Also, at the same time, the USB has the monitor jack. Plug the phantom power into the iPad, because you're still going to get signal off of it no matter what. Plug in your monitor jack, but instead of using one plug-in, put a main plug with a splitter that you can plug in a set of monitors on one end and an extension on the other. Run the extension to the microphone inlay or input on the computer. Now, whether you use Adobe Audition, whether you use Audacity, or any other digital audio workstation, here's the issues you're going to have to run into. USB through the Yeti is fine. Operates exactly the way it should. USB through the computer is fine. Will operate exactly as it should. Here's where it gets tricky. If you try to connect the iPad through the USB and you try to connect the computer through the headphone jack. It will work. But the problem is, you have to not only measure the gain at the microphone, you also have to measure the volume of the monitor itself, because in reality you have two gains. Actually, in response, you actually have three. You have the gain of the device itself, because it has to put out at one volume. Okay. Then what you have to do is you have to measure the gain on the microphone, because that's pretty much going to be used as a booster in a way, because it's using the iPad sound card and it is also sending the audio through the iPad into the microphone. Okay. At the same time, you have whatever you're playing over the iPad is going to come through the monitor. It's also going to go out through the monitor toward the toward the auxiliary port to the computer. So you have to EQ 3 different volumes to the point where if you're going to record the audio, the gain needs to be tuned right on the computer in order for you to broadcast on both at the same time. Now, and I hate to be getting on this right here, but this is part of my job. Also, at the same time, you need to... There's a backup thing to this that I've thought of but haven't tried. You can always try to split the USB cable at the power end. Run a branch or run a splitter off of the mini USB. Run it off the mini USB, run it to have one USB mini run into a dual mini, or have a USB mini going to another mini cord that will split. Run them to their individual USB stations and try it that way. It might work. If that works, then you only have to worry about the gain at two positions, the computer itself and the microphone. If you run it through the half-assed redneck way, like I did during the test, and I only did it because I used the equipment I had, it will work. You just need to tune the gain at the device, at the microphone, and then finally you need to tune in the incoming volume going into your sound card on the PC. Here's the good point though. You can EQ that. I mean, I know I've heard people say TLDR, too long, didn't read. For those of you not interested in the fundamental aspects of that, I don't blame you. I wasn't until the other day. But when I got this email of this young lady trying to do this, and by the way, good luck on your podcast. Unfortunately, I don't have the information set aside that I can give the title. If you will resend me that information, I will be more than happy to promote that later. So, and the other thing I keep finding out from the Yeti is be careful what arm you buy and be careful what shock mount you buy if you're going to do a Yeti for anything. Here's a little bit of a clue. The microphone stand that they sent me for this mic sucks. I'm having to use an adapter to get it to stay on the boom, which you should not have to half-ass it, but apparently somebody thinks you do. And finally, we got the acoustics. We got the acoustic foam in. We have it set up. The problem is they didn't send me everything of the right thickness. I don't know why. I personally think they bumped their head in transport. I don't know. But they sent me 2 different sizes of acoustic sound absorption and deflection. And I did what I know how to do and put the thicker ones down by the microphone, and I put the thinner ones up to where it would take most of the remaining bounce and deflect it away from coming back to the sensor. So I hope it sounds good. I really, really do. Also, I'm going to end that part on audio, except for we're going to go back to smartphone world for a couple of different stories. Somebody over at iDownloadBlog.com has an article up there, and this is for all of you who could not wait to get the public beta. You wanted the beta now, and you had to go to iOS 11 beta on whatever phone you were carrying now. You could not wait to get it when the public beta was released. You wanted it right then, right there, and it didn't matter what glitches it had. You wanted to carry something new, which was perfectly understandable. iOS does have a reputation for boredom. You don't believe me on that one? Ask Michael Fisher. He'll confirm that one all day. Their iPads are good though. But the gentleman over at The gentleman at iDownloadBlog.com has written an article of how to switch either the watchOS beta or the phone beta back to the original release. It's a good guide. It is not that difficult to follow. I'll be honest with you. After hearing everything about the Apple Watch, and I carry the Gear S3 Frontier, I am seriously, and I mean, I've been more serious on this one than probably anything else. The problem I'm having is this. I'm really thinking of ditching the Gear S3 Frontier and going with an Apple Watch. I carry iOS, and iOS is powering my podcast. So, one would simply think, if this is for working for work, then maybe I should. But, I did not expect what was going to happen this year to happen. Unfortunately, my wife is feeling a lot better now. However, I'm not able to just drop and go get a watch. So I'm going to stick with what I have until I can find other alternatives. Maybe somebody will want to collaborate over, I don't know, a couple of videos, maybe a week of interviews. I would love to seriously have a sit-down talk with a lot of the people in the tech industry. And I'm putting that list together right now. And yeah, a lot of them's going to be your regular everyday. They're everyday to me. They're not everyday to you. There's going to be some YouTubers in there. I'm almost certain of that. There's going to be some regular journalists in there, or they think they're regular. I don't. I think they're damn good at what they do. And we're just going to, every once in a while, we're going to bring somebody in and we're going to ask them questions. And I'll warn you now, a couple of those podcasts may be explicit, because when I'm going to bring somebody in the studio, I am not going to tell them, now don't cuss, because no, this is not the way the world works. My job is to entertain and educate, and while I'm at it, give you advice and opinion. If they want to say what they want to say while they're giving advice, opinion on what they believe in, it's just like somebody from Android telling somebody from iOS, hey, I tried iOS, I don't like your system, it sucks, here's why. That'd be like somebody coming over and say, hey, I don't like your Android phone, here's why. It will be civilized discussion, it will be civilized debate. If you see an explicit tag on any future episodes, it is not for the simple fact that I don't want anyone listening. It's for the simple fact I wish to let the customer or guest be the guest. Okay? At that point, we're just a platform. This is the part of the business I love. I love getting people's opinions on what they think of technology. So, we will see how that works. And if anybody has ideas for interviews, and if anybody wants to, who knows, pony themselves up for an interview. I know I have listeners all around the world. I have them in Ireland, Hungary, Japan. I have listeners in the UK, thank you. Canada. Canada's been with me since the early days. Ashburn, Virginia. I don't know, maybe that's Fritzy PB. So, you know, if anybody wants to come on and talk tech, by all means, show at techfilesmedia.com. We'll get a conversation going, and hopefully we can bring it on air. And you'll have interviews from all sides. You'll have interviews from users. You'll have interviews from sales specialists. You'll have interviews hopefully from principals of companies that I respect. And not only in the smartphone industry, folks, that is too much of a niche. I would love to have some people talk from companies like Umi, which is, Asia, and Meizu, and Xiaomi, and, whoever's running Lenovo or whatever they're going to call themselves. I'd love to bring them in here and, excuse me, please, bring them in here and get their opinions. I can think of nothing better. So, guys and girls, that's going to end my rant for the day, more or less. I do have one last bit of information. The Honor 9 is going to have a premium edition with 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, and it will be coming to Europe. They don't have the date. They don't have the way that they are going to do it. As far as Phone Arena knows, that is expected from analysts. So, and there is, if you look at the description, the show notes that are on for the Moto E4, we covered the story last night. This is just confirmation today. So the Moto E4, it's a $39 phone. It will be launched as a $39 phone, but if you transport your phone number to Metro PCS, you will be able to get that phone for free. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for inviting me into your homes, your cars, your work, wherever I'm at tonight, or wherever you decide to listen to me. Your listenership is greatly appreciated. Please leave me a 5-star review and a comment on any one of these podcatchers. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, digitalpodcast.com, tunein.com, Podcast Addict, SoundCloud, Pocketcast, iHeartRadio. And of course, as always, none of this would be possible without the resources and assets at Spreaker.com. I thank everybody, including Rob Greenlee, for their technical advice and support. It will never be forgotten, believe me. If you need to contact the show, feel free to give an email at show@techfilesmedia.com. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TechFiles or TechFiles Media. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this concludes the Dose of Common Sense. I thank you. Y'all stay classy, and we will try to catch you all on the next one. Cheers.